Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. We are going to continue from last week's presentation and talk about experimental design. We talked about the withdrawal reversal design. So in today's session, we're going to talk about the alternating treatments design. We'll talk about the multiple baseline design, including the variations of it, our changing criterion design. Then we'll get into experimental analyses, and then we'll talk about internal versus external validity. How's everybody doing tonight? How we feeling? We grooving? Well, anyway, we'll get into our content in just a sec. Just wanted to orient you to our shop if you're unfamiliar with our materials. We've got some great mock exams out there. Our best deal is this super ultimate mock bundle where you can get our mini mock package and our 2 full-length mock exams for just $139. Tonight we'll be giving away a prize, so you can get one of our products. You can get either Beat the Beast 1, Beat the Beast 2, which are the full-length mocks, our mini mock package, which comes with mini mocks by section. These are also our toughest scenario questions. There are no fillers. They are all super tough applied questions. And or you could choose our fluency questions, which comes with easier questions, but you get unlimited access to them for 6 months as well. Super cool stuff. Yeah, Alyssa saying in chat she won the mini mocks last week. She highly recommends them. So challenging and worth it. Absolutely. Yeah, these are our toughest questions. They will make you think really hard, but what's cool is that they come with really thorough feedback. So even those tougher scenarios, you'll learn how to wrestle them and look at what's most important in those scenarios. Samantha Kress, hoping this is your last live before you pass. I hope so too. I think it will be. I remember you sharing some of your scores, so I think you got it. Just catching up on chat here. Sean is testing on April Fool's Day. Oh, that's a sneaky day to take your test on. I don't know how I feel about that either. Well, it's coming up actually. I wanted to give you guys an update. We are working on a comprehensive course right now for that's going to cover everything that you need to know to pass this exam. We were hoping to get it out at the end of this month, but there's still so much work to do. So what we're doing is we're expecting a release date between April 7th and April 14th. At minimum, we'll have a trial for you out on April 7th. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty awesome. We are busting our asses day and night to get that out for you guys. And we're hoping that it's gonna come out really soon. So yeah, if you're looking for that more comprehensive take on everything that you need for the BCBA exam, definitely keep your eyes out for that product because it's going to frickin' rule. Okay, doke. Just catching up on chat here a little bit. Nice. Aiden got 73 on Beat the Beast 1. That's pretty solid. Heck yeah. Oh no, Aaron's got norovirus. That's not fun. Uh-oh. Hope you feel better soon. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our content for tonight. We are going to start off with our alternating treatments design. We're going to talk a little bit about the design features, and then we'll talk about the utility. So which kind of situations that you're going to use this design for. I personally really like the alternating treatments design. So let's go ahead and get into it. The key feature for the alternating treatments design is that we're going to be rapidly alternating between our conditions. It's not necessarily that we have multiple treatment conditions that we're working with. The main feature of this, again, is that we're rapidly alternating between our conditions. We've got a graph here, and we can kind of see how that takes place. We've got several different conditions. So we've got our escape diamonds, we've got our triangle play condition, and then we have our square attention condition. But notice on each session, we're changing up what condition is going on. So we've got square, diamond, triangle, square, diamond, triangle, square, square, diamond, square, diamond. And pretty much every single session that we are switching this up. So that's the key feature of the alternating treatments design. So we're always changing up what the condition is that's in play. To visually identify this design, that's exactly what you want to look at, is that we want to see the different independent variables on our different sessions. So each session is going to have a different condition. You might have noticed that this is a functional analysis, and we've got our functional analysis conditions on our different lines. Yeah, the AKA for this is our multi-element design. So if you see multi-element or alternating treatments, know that those are the exact same thing. Our baseline condition is going to be optional. So we don't need to do a baseline at all. And one thing that we often do is that we have a control condition that we alternate between. So our play condition in the functional analysis serves as a control condition, and we're just going to alternate this with the rest of our conditions. Somebody asked if this is a random order of these. It's semi-random. So there are some things that you want to take into consideration. It's not purely random, but it is fairly random. The main advantage of this design is that we can test out many different independent variables very quickly. So since we don't need to wait for particular phase change patterns like we do with our withdrawal design, we can test these out really quickly and get some results fast. When we're doing our data analysis, there's a few different comparisons that we can make. So we can compare our test conditions to a baseline condition. So that would be a pure baseline that would be taken before we implement all our treatments. We could make our comparisons to a control condition in the functional analysis. That's usually what we're doing, comparing it to that play condition. And then lastly, we can also make a comparison to our other treatment conditions. So like, how much did a behavior increase compared to the other treatments? We can relate some of these features to the utility of the design. So how we're going to use this design. The best use case is that it can quickly evaluate many different interventions. It's also the best design for severe and dangerous behavior. Couple reasons for that. So first of all, we're able to skip our baseline entirely. We can hop right into a treatment, which is great for severe and dangerous behavior. And in addition, if we're not sure what is going to work very quickly, then we can test out many different interventions and get that data really quickly, so we're not using ineffective treatments for long periods of time. So go-to design for severe and dangerous behavior for sure. You can use this for learned or irreversible behavior as well. The way that it kind of works is that, let's say we've got two different treatments and we want to teach an irreversible behavior. How it works is like we'll do one session with treatment 1 and then one session with treatment 2. And then by the time we go back to treatment 1 again, it's kind of evened out the exposure. So like when they experience treatment 2, they've already experienced one session of treatment 1. But then if we go back to treatment 1, now they've experienced one session of treatment 1 and one session of treatment 2. And if we keep flip-flopping back and forth, those numbers kind of even out. So it's not the best for like these irreversible behaviors, but it definitely is way better than our withdrawal design, which we couldn't use for irreversible behaviors at all. So good utility for this design as well. In addition, whenever we're doing a functional analysis, it's pretty much always going to be on an alternating treatments design. So if we are, if you see like these FA conditions, you can pretty much immediately label it as an alternating treatments design, and you don't need to think about it much more than that. We actually did an article review a while back, and we looked at like over 100 articles that had functional analyses in them. Every single functional analysis had the alternating treatments design used. There was one article that used a withdrawal design for a functional analysis, but this is only because they got inconclusive data with their alternating treatments design. Yeah, so we have this compare level between our conditions. This is the main thing that we want to compare for experimental control. And this is going to be applicable to all of our designs. So our alternating treatments design is no different here. If we wanted to see like what is going to have like the greatest experimental control here, we would draw the level line. So we could draw this level line for our escape condition, kind of just cutting through halfway through. If you want more about how we do that, definitely check out part 1 of this series. And then we'll compare it to our play condition. And then if we want to see experimental control, we want to compare the level between these conditions. And we see that there's a great difference in level between these conditions, meaning that the escape condition has some pretty strong experimental control. Definitely check out part 1 if you want to get a little bit more in depth with that. Yeah, I have a good question. How do we conduct verification with an alternating treatments design? It's not always necessary. So we do get some verification when we are doing a control condition. And again, this is more popular than doing a pure baseline. So we can think about our play condition as a control condition, and it's very similar to a baseline. So we do get some verification by just repeating the sessions of that play or control condition. But otherwise, we don't really need our verification. Alternating treatments designs are more going to show experimental control through replication. Good question. All right, so that's our alternating treatments design. Really cool design. Highly recommend it. You know what was also really cool? We've got 82 viewers here, but only 25 likes on this video. If we get lots of likes on this video, it might trigger a giveaway even faster. So definitely go ahead and hit that thumbs up if you haven't yet already. And it looks like we've got a little bit of a smaller crowd here tonight, so we might even have better opportunities to win your giveaways tonight. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and check this graph out. When we're looking at graphs, we want to orient to a couple key features on the graph. I always like to read the title first. So we've got decreasing entries with a visual barrier. And then we see on our dependent variable, we're looking at approaches and entries. And we've got a few different phases here. So what kind of design do we have here? Is this an alternating treatments design, or is this a withdrawal design, or is it both? What do you guys think? Let's see this. Let's see some answers in chat. And thanks for everybody who just hit the like button. We just blew that out of the water. Well, we'll review this graph, and then we'll go ahead and do a little giveaway. All right, so again, question here, we're looking at what is the design of this graph. Do we have a withdrawal design, an alternating treatments design, or is this both? And if you want to get the most out of these sessions, providing rationales for your answers is going to be crucial. So we're a little skimpy on rationales here. I would love to see some more. So remember, alternating treatments designs, baseline is optional. So if you see a baseline, it doesn't necessarily rule out the alternating treatments. If you were here last week, can we use a withdrawal design for two treatments? I know, it gets trickier when we look at some real graphs, for sure. There's a lot going on in this one. All right, I'm loving the rationales coming through. I love people giving it a go. Even if you don't get it right, providing a rationale can be really useful because it makes that learning stick a little bit better. Cool. Yeah, people are right on the right track. Withdrawal designs, they can test out multiple treatments for sure. Okay, well, let's go ahead and review this one. This one is going to be a withdrawal design. We actually do not have an alternating treatments design here. Let's go ahead and check out why. So our title here, it says we're decreasing entry with a visual barrier. And then we see our dependent variable is we're looking at entries and approaches per hour. Entries and approaches on our legend, these are going to be our different dependent variables. So looking at each of these, we're not going to see these as different treatments. These are actually looking at different behaviors with the open diamonds and the big black squares. So this one is a withdrawal design. More particularly, we would call this a multiple withdrawal design or a multiple reversal design. Either term is fine. And again, it's because we have two dependent variables and we've got our different phases here. So we've got baseline, then we've got this visual barrier plus redirection, another baseline, redirection only, and then we're back to this visual barrier with redirection. So we've got different phases and we've got multiple of each of our phases. If we were to label this, we would call this an A, B, C, B design. So the C would be our second treatment, is this redirection only. Now we can also look at, we can draw some level lines real quick and see like how our experimental control does. I'm just gonna draw some quick estimates here. Note that I'm drawing 2 for some of them because we've got 2 dependent variables. So just note like the higher one will be higher on average. That one looks pretty good. How about here or so? And then how about these? Look pretty good. Okay, cool. So we've got some level lines. And remember, when we're testing to see if we have experimental control, we want to see that we see big changes in level between our conditions. So first, we've got our baseline. Our levels are around like 8, it looks like 7, or sorry, like 6 and 8 or so. And then they decrease to 0 for our entries and about 4 for our approaches. So a little bit of a decrease. Then we saw both of these increase up to a level of about 8. So even a little bit higher than our baseline levels when we reverted back to baseline. Then we put their treatment back in and we see decreases of both of these behaviors. We try our second intervention. So this was using a visual barrier plus redirection. This C phase was only doing a redirection only. So they're like, hey, can we reduce like a component of this? And they're like, wait, no, the behavior like goes back to really bad levels again. So they they only did a couple data points here, and then they went back with the full treatment, and they saw the behaviors go to near 0 levels. We had a few outliers for our approaches, but overall, we went to near 0 levels for both of these behaviors. And yeah, this is a withdrawal because we have the repeated phases. We've got repeats of our baseline condition. We've also got repeats of our B phase. So that's what makes this a withdrawal design. We can also see that with our phase lines that very clearly separate those phases. One other thing to see that this is not an alternating treatments design. Remember, an alternating treatments design is going to have just one data point per session, where if we look at this graph, we actually see that there's 2 data points per session. So they're measuring both dependent variables on every session. They're not necessarily like flip-flopping back and forth. We see both are kind of stacked on every session. So that's another way we could see that this is a withdrawal design. So overall, I'd say we have some pretty good experimental control. Our baseline conditions are definitely higher for both behaviors. And when we got to our last phase, we saw both behaviors go to near 0 levels, with the exception of a couple outliers with our approaches. I know, definitely an intense graph, for sure. We're so used to seeing like these clean, simple scenarios, so it's helpful to look at some of the more difficult ones as well. But all of the same elements are going to apply. So get really confident with what these designs look at and what we need to look for. And you'll be able to analyze even the most complex graphs. So keep practicing and keep studying those features so we can nail these down. Okay. Oh yeah, we're gonna do a giveaway. That's what was next on the agenda. Thanks for everybody for hitting that like button. For this giveaway, if you are the winner, you get to choose your product. So you can either get Beat the Beast 1, Beat the Beast 2, Mini Mocks for Mastering, or our fluency questions. I'll drop the link to our shop. If you sign up for emails here, you'll also get notified about our course and when that free trial goes live. So definitely sign up for our email list. You also get 15% off coupon, and we send you some free mini mocks as well. So definitely go sign up for our email list if you haven't already. All right, and we'll go ahead, and the way we're going to do this is we'll pick a random number. Whoever is closest to our random number, one guess each, is going to be our winner, and you get to choose which prize that you would like. So throw a number into chat, anywhere between 1 and 500, and we'll see who is the closest for our winner. Remember, only one guess per person. All right, the numbers are coming. They're flying. Love to see it. All right, lots of people participating. Who's going to be our winner tonight? We'll give you guys maybe like 15, 20 more seconds, and we'll pick our winner. Dun, dun, dun. The suspense is building. Here we go. All right, last call for numbers. All right, we're sealing it up. Andrea G is going to be our last person. Actually, we'll make Suletus our last person here. We'll pick our number is 61. Help me out, chat. Who is closest to 61? I see Jocelyn at 82. It's kind of close. Not a whole lot of two-digit number guesses tonight. Oh, man. Okay, 35, Sandra. That one is... You're 26 off. Okay, who else was a two-digit? Jocelyn was 82, so she's 21 away. Oh, we had two 82s. Shanice was also 82. 21 away. Oh, wait, Katarina, you were too late. We said Suletus was our last guess. I don't know. Nobody guessed 69. That would have been our winner. All right. Well, we have actually a roll off here. We've got Shanice and somebody else had 82. Actually, I think we'll be nice. We'll instead of doing a roll off, we'll give it to two people tonight. So Jocelyn, Casas, and Shanice, you guys are our winners tonight. Send me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com, and we'll get you whichever product you like here. So send me an email, let me know which product you want, and congratulations. Awesome. Okay, well, let's keep going. We're going to talk about our multiple baseline design now. Congratulations to Shanice and Jocelyn. Woo, 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 woo. Okay, multiple baseline designs. Here we go. Katarina, you were too late. We said Suletus was the last. All right. Okay, so in a multiple baseline design, we are testing out a single intervention. What we're doing is that we're replicating an A-B relationship across either different settings, people, or behaviors. So our different dependent variables are going to either be our settings, behaviors, or people. In this graph here, we've got Rachel, Sarah, and Jackie. We've got three different people that are that we're replicating our intervention across. Okay, so what we want to do is we're testing out these A-B relationships, and we want to see like the difference in the levels between the conditions between our A-B phases, and then we want to replicate that change across all three of the individuals. Okay, so for visual analysis, what we want to do is we want to look for this staircase pattern of responding. So what this staircase does is that it demonstrates that our different dependent variables have different baseline duration, or have different durations of baseline. So we've got our first dependent variable, we've got 5 sessions of baseline. Our second one, we've got 10 sessions of baseline. And for our third one, we've got 15 sessions of baseline. So that's what the staircase pattern is showing, is that each of these dependent variables is going to have way different baselines. Katarina, you can send me an email if you want later, but it was too late. I'm sorry. All right. So again, what we want to do here is what's going on in this graph is that we've got three different our three different dependent variables, and we're testing verification through this extension of the baseline with our other dependent variables. So that's why we extend our baseline is for verification. So essentially, like, what we do is we implement our treatment with our first dependent variable, and then our second dependent variable is going to stay in baseline. So this is where we're demonstrating verification. And then when we implement our treatment with our second dependent variable, this is where we demonstrate replication. And we do that once again. So when the second dependent variable is in its treatment phase, then we continue to have our third dependent variable in baseline. This is going to show even more verification. And then we've got replication on our third dependent variable, where we are implementing our treatment for the third time with our third dependent variable. Okay, so so that's how we show our baseline logic, is that we show verification through extending our baselines, and then we show replication when we implement our intervention with additional additional dependent variables. For our multiple baseline designs, we want to look at the same exact phase change patterns as we did for our withdrawal design. So in our withdrawal design, we either wanted to have stable data, or we wanted the behavior to be trending in the opposite direction of the next phase. So for our intervention, we're attempting to increase the rate of this behavior. So if we had a descending baseline, then this would also be an appropriate pattern to do a phase change. Well, the only time we wouldn't do a phase change is, let's say we had ascending data, and that, again, that would not allow us to show experimental control, because we wouldn't know if the behavior is just going to trend upward naturally, or if our intervention would cause that trend or cause that change in behavior. So this one we would not want to do with our ascending, but if we had descending data, we could absolutely do a phase change here. Once again, this demonstrates experimental control through replications. So we want to show the replications of our A-B relationships between our conditions. So again, we want to look at we're always comparing our level between our conditions. Note, for this first baseline, we've got a level about 40. And then when we implement our intervention, it goes to about 70. This is not enough to show experimental control right now. We would still want to show verification and replication. So once we've shown that we've replicated the results of our A-B relationship with our second dependent variable, now we're starting to show that we have some experimental control in place. Cool. Just catching up on chat. Yeah, Maria's asking, the stable baseline have to be achieved. So it either needs to be stable, or we need to see it trending in the opposite direction intended by the next phase. Would this be a concurrent graph? So yeah, this would be a concurrent multiple baseline. Yep. We'll talk about the variations in just a sec. All right, we got another question. The levels in baseline can be different between subjects as long as they are stable. Yeah, the levels in baseline could be different. We just, again, want to see that pattern. So either stable or trending in the opposite direction intended by the next phase. Yeah, Samantha say needed this before you took this section D mini mock. Totally, totally. We got the right information for you. It all makes sense and it's all there. So you just got to be properly prepared for these. Yeah, so Sharuthi's asking, do we have does the second replication show experimental control? Yeah, so we have the second replication. We do start to show experimental control. The more replications that we do, the better. And it's especially useful because of the utility that we'll talk about in just a sec. The multiple baseline design, it is the most commonly used design. My hypothesis why this is the case is that it's the easiest design to run. So it's way easier to get good data than it is compared to like our alternating treatments or our withdrawal design. This is also, it shows our weakest experimental control. So withdrawal designs, they show like really strong experimental control. Alternating treatments designs are not that much far below it, but our multiple baseline design is like significantly weaker in how it demonstrates experimental control. The main reason for that is because we're never removing a treatment. In the withdrawal design, we're clearly removing a treatment, and we usually go back to our baseline conditions. In the alternating treatments, we're removing a condition, but oftentimes we're replacing it with another condition. But if we make like our comparisons to a control condition, then it still shows really strong experimental control. But since our multiple baseline designs do not do a reversal, this is going to not show experimental control show as strong of experimental control in comparison to those other two designs. Yeah, somebody's asking for an example of a multiple baseline that's not across subjects. So you could do it across different behaviors. So let's say we had like disruptions and screaming and falling on the floor as the behaviors. We could do a multiple baseline design with those three behaviors instead. So yeah, not removing our treatment and not going back to a baseline condition makes it weaker experimental control, for sure. Just catching up on chat here. Shruthi, we want to focus on level of the behavior. So level of the whole data path. Or level where it stabilizes out too. Would not be good for SIB. Yeah, somebody's asking if we can show replication and verification. Yeah, we still could show those. It's just showed in a different way. So verification through the extended baselines, replications through the additional implementations of the IV with the DVs. Let's continue talking about utility behind this. The main use case for a multiple baseline design is that we can use it to teach irreversible behaviors. Great for this situation because we never need to remove our treatment to show experimental control. So when we're working with irreversible behaviors, looks great. It's also a very flexible design that can be used for a wide variety of behaviors. Really the only limitation for that is that it wouldn't be great for severe or dangerous behaviors due to this extended baseline periods. So we can use it for behaviors targeted for decrease. We just wouldn't want them to be very severe behaviors. So I talked about like that example where we're doing a multiple baseline across our behaviors. And we did like disruptions, falling on the floor and screaming. That would be okay because those aren't really like severe or dangerous behaviors. But if we're working with like 3 different forms of SIB, then like, no, this isn't going to be great because we have those really extended baseline periods. Okay, so that's our basic multiple baseline design. Things that most people will mix up is that we're only testing one intervention in the pure form of this design. So be really careful with that. And then also just like how it shows experimental control. It does so by replicating the IV effects with multiple dependent variables. And And again, this is how we show verification and replication. So verification through the extended baselines, replications with seeing the effects of the IV with the DV. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the variation. So our first variation is going to be the multiple probe design. A lot of people struggle with these designs, so let's go ahead and break them down. For multiple probe designs, these are strictly used for irreversible behaviors. So the main features that we are looking at for these behaviors is that the behaviors won't be learned in baseline conditions, and the behaviors also won't be unlearned after our intervention conditions. The probes that we're looking at are, we're taking long periods of time without collecting data. But notice that the probes only occur in our baseline conditions and they occur in our post-intervention conditions. And the reason why we can do that is because we choose behaviors that have these two characteristics. They won't be learned in baseline and they won't be unlearned after our intervention. Notice that during our intervention phase, we're actually taking very consistent data the whole time. This is because this is where the data is going to fluctuate the most. So when if our behavior is not going to be very predictable, then we want to capture all of that data so we can see how the progress is being made. So notice what we've got here is a multiple baseline across behaviors, or sorry, a multiple probe across behaviors. We've got different word sets. Our dependent variable is the percentage of words that are spelled correctly. So again, we've chosen an irreversible behavior for this, and we are good to go. The probe phases, so we take 3 data points for each of them. Now let's look at our second DV. Well, we took a long period of time where we didn't collect any data. Right before we implemented our intervention for our second dependent variable, we went ahead and probed that again. Taking the data for all of these sessions wasn't necessary because we could anticipate that they would get zeros for all of them. Then we went ahead and implemented our intervention, which is this instruction with CTD. They measured both prompted responses and our circles, and then we measured our unprompted or independent responses with our triangles. So what we see is that during the intervention, we're taking data the whole time, and then once they meet that mastery criteria, it looks like we want 3 out of 100, then they move back to probing. So the behavior is not likely to be unlearned, so they probe out the data a little bit. They take a long period of time where they don't measure the behavior at all. This is just to save time, like it's unnecessary for both the kid and the experimenter. Then they probe again. They still got it. We're good to go. We'll take more time, and then they still got it. Good to go. All right, so that's our multiple probe design. Again, main thing you really want to focus on is we're only using it for irreversible behaviors, and then we're taking our probes in baseline and post-intervention, but during intervention, we're taking data the whole time. Any questions on these? Yeah, with any design, you can do a maintenance probe afterwards. It doesn't necessarily make it a multiple probe. This maintenance probe is just checking like, hey, after a really long period of time, do they still have it? Yeah, we're good. So seeing a maintenance probe is not necessarily make it a multiple probe. We need to see like the long periods of time without data collection for it to be a multiple probe. Cool. All right. Let's check out our other variation. This is going to be the delayed or non-concurrent multiple baseline design. Let me reset our graph here so we've got a clean slate. In this one, it's basically the same thing as a multiple baseline design, except we're not going to start data collection for all of our dependent variables at once. So what the main thing that you want to look at is that there's going to be a delay in the start of the baseline condition or the baseline measurement before we implement our intervention. So we can still show verification. So note that like in these phases, like where the intervention's already been implemented for the previous DV, we're still collecting the data like right before we implement our independent variable with each dependent variable. But there's long delays in the starting of our data collection. So this is the thing, this is the trait that defines a delayed or non-concurrent multiple baseline, is that we are delaying the start of baseline data collection for some of our dependent variables. Cool. We got some questions in chat. Let me check it out here. We got a question. If the behavior quickly generalizes, like increases correct spelling and probes of the next leg, then is this considered weak experimental control? If it increases correct spelling and probes of the next leg. So like if we were to look at this multiple probe and like these were starting to increase, then yeah, that would hurt our experimental control for sure. I think that's what you're asking. Yeah, and for our delayed multiple baseline, oftentimes this is just like natural, where it's like, hey, either a new behavior emerges, or like, hey, we found a new participant that's good for our study, even though we already started it. So it usually doesn't matter too much. We just want to, again, make sure that we have these verification points in place. Then we are good to go. Okay, well, that's our multiple baseline variations. We got a quick question here. A researcher is interested in comparing the effectiveness of two different teaching methods on the acquisition of new vocabulary words by children with developmental disabilities. Which experimental design would best suit this purpose? All right, I want to see some answers and some rationales here. What you guys got? Those are the only variations. Multiple baseline. All right, let's check this one out. Let's see some answers. I need some rationales here. All right, we're a little split. We've got about half people saying A, half people saying B. Where are these rationales at? You're going to need it to learn it well. Thanks for everybody providing rationales. I can tell that you're here serious about learning. Cool. I like how Morgan's doing like a rule out rationale there too. That looks great. Awesome. Looking good. We'll give you guys maybe 20 more seconds on this one, and then we'll discuss. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and check it out. The best answer here is going to be B, the alternating treatments design. This one was tricky. So they want to compare the effectiveness of two different teaching methods. Remember, multiple baseline designs can only test out one intervention. So not a multiple baseline design. Reverse, let's look at like what we're working with here. So we're working on the acquisition of new vocabulary words. So this is going to be one of those irreversible behaviors, and reversal designs are not great for that. but the alternating treatments can be used for that. So alternating treatments is our best answer there. Tricky stuff. Gotta pay attention to those details. All right, let's talk changing criterion designs. We've got some more questions for you after this one. Alberto, delayed and non-concurrent multiple baselines are the same thing. Same exact thing. They're AKAs for each other. All right, let's talk about changing criterion designs. Here we go. Changing criterion designs are a little bit of like the weird one in the bunch. So they are used to gradually change behavior that's currently in the individual's repertoire. The way that we do this is by using a goal line, also known as a horizontal prediction line. Also known as a horizontal prediction line to help shape behavior. So that's going to be these dash lines, are our goal lines, also known as our horizontal prediction lines, and these are going to change behavior. Usually there is going to be some kind of consequence associated with meeting that criteria of the goal line. So yeah, wherever we set the goal, and if they make it, there's usually going to be some kind of reinforcement that's associated with that, or some kind of consequence in general. Doesn't necessarily have to be reinforcement. Changing criterion designs that can be used for behaviors targeted for increase or decrease. Again, the only limitation is that we wouldn't want to use it for severe or dangerous behavior, because again, this design is looking to gradually change behavior, where if we have a really severe or dangerous behavior, we would probably want to reduce it pretty quickly and not so gradually in order to keep everybody safe. Now, changing criterion designs, they show experimental control in the weirdest way. So the way that it shows experimental control is by having the level of the behavior conform to the level of the goal line. So if we look at this criterion jump here, this one shows our best experimental control because all of our data points for the behavior line exactly on that goal line. The more that these data points stray away from our goal line, let's say we have data points that look like that, this is going to show weaker experimental control. Even if it shows a better clinical outcome, so let's say we had data that looked like this on this phase, this is still shows weaker experimental control, even though it shows a better clinical outcome. So the main thing you want to look at is the farther away the data points are from our goal line, the less experimental control that we have. There's a couple different ways that we can enhance the experimental control in a changing criterion design. But again, we're always focusing on the level of the behavior conforming to the level of the goal line. So we can enhance experimental control by doing more jumps. We see like in this graph that we do a ton of different criterion jumps. So they nailed that really nicely on this one. We can also change up the sizes of the jumps. So sometimes doing smaller or bigger jumps. They also did that really nicely on this graph. So we can see this first criterion jump, it went from 5 to 7, which was an increase of 2. But in this jump right here, they went from 10 to 15, which was an increase of 5. So varying that up and still seeing the behavior conform to that level of the goal line is going to enhance our experimental control. We can also do what's called a bidirectional change. A bidirectional change is when we're changing the level of the goal line in the opposite direction intended by the overall goal. So let's say we were at this phase where we just had it at, I think this is 23 here, and then we moved it down to 20 again. If we move it in the opposite direction and the behavior still conforms really well, then this is just like an extra flex on experimental control. It's like, yeah, even when we moved it the wrong way, it's the behavior still conformed. So like we have really precise control over this behavior. Yeah, Alyssa's at saying, question on the mock about bidirectional change messed her up for sure. Yeah, so bidirectional changes are not necessary. The main necessary ingredient for experimental control, again, is going to see that level of the behavior conform to the level of the goal line. The better that we see in this, the better the design shows experimental control. And these are just ways to like get more confidence in that, and we can like flex on experimental control a little bit. Let's go ahead and look at this graph real quick. There's a lot going on in this graph, so I'm just gonna maybe give you how should we do this? We'll talk about a couple of the components here. So our baseline condition is going to be optional, but most changing criterion designs do contain a baseline condition. In this study, what they were doing is that they had these forced participants. They were on a recumbent bike, so like a stationary bike, and they had a little light on the bike. And whenever they pedaled a certain amount, the light would light up and it would signal that they get a reinforcer after their session. So we have our reinforcement schedules here for our different phases. And it's also where the goal lines are set. And then they measure how many revolutions per minute that they're achieving on their stationary bike. So let's look at Scott, our first participant here. Our baseline, our level was maybe about like 70 or so. And then we implemented our first schedule, which was this VR80. And so our criterion was set at 80 per minute, so they could get one reinforcer per minute. And what we can see is that, like, whoa, this skyrocketed how fast he was pedaling on his bike pretty fast. So a highest data point was like a little over 100, maybe let's say like 105 or so. So they moved up the next phase all the way up to 115. So this was a pretty big jump. They moved it up 35 for this first jump. You see for their second jump, they only moved it up 15. So nice experimental tactics there. Is like they varied up how big the jumps were. So that's pretty cool. We see on the second phase that we see a lot better conformity of these data points to the goal line. Like most of these data points are lining up with that goal line pretty nicely. They increase their criteria again. We see more line up with that goal line. The last couple data points in both go above that goal line. So pretty good experimental control. It does increase that pretty significantly. They also did reversal back to baseline conditions. And when they saw like, yeah, boom, there's a huge descending trend here. That was okay for them to phase change, even though it was trending, because it's trending in the opposite direction intended by the next phase. And again, we saw large increases here, but not great conformity. We set it at 130, and the average level was like 140. So not so great with the conformity, but overall, if we're just looking at to get them to pedal faster, then it worked really well for that. It just wasn't very precise in how it did that. If we look at this phase for Steve, this VR 125, I would say we have the best experimental control going on in this phase because we see most of the data points align pretty much exactly with where that goal line is set. So yeah, that looks great there. Really strong experimental control. And overall, this was still a good experiment because we saw that that overall, if they were just trying to increase their pedaling, that this worked really well for all 4 of their participants. So yeah, good stuff here. Yeah, just catching up in chat a little bit. Yeah, Nicole's asking, what's it called when you set the criteria too high? Ratio strain. Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't look like we met a ratio strain anywhere. Yeah, they all love this intervention. They're like, yeah, I'll keep pedaling faster. That's great. Okay. Let's take a little quiz, and yeah, we got a quiz. All right, you are working with a client who exhibits 3 different types of disruptive behaviors in the classroom. We've got shouting out without raising a hand, leaving their seat without permission, and distracting other students. You plan to introduce a token economy system to address each behavior one at a time. Which experimental design would allow you to easily demonstrate the effectiveness of the token economy on each of the disruptive behaviors? All right, give this one your best shot. Let's see some rationales. While you guys are doing that, I think we're actually going to skip experimental analyses tonight. But after these questions, we still have internal versus external validity. I see us sitting at a really solid 69 likes right now. So after we go over internal and external validity, if you're still here, we'll do one more giveaway to wrap up the evening to make up for skipping experimental analyses. But we have reviewed those in previous reviews of this presentation. So go check that out if you want to get some coverage on that. But yeah, we're at 69 likes. Don't touch it. We'll do another giveaway at the end of this presentation. So stay tuned. Oh no, somebody ruined it. Went to 70. All right, well keep pushing that like button now. It's already ruined. All right, loving all the rationales coming through. Looking great, everyone. Okay, maybe 10 more seconds and we'll review this one. Alrighty, let's go ahead and review. We have multiple baseline as the best option here. Let's go ahead and take a look. So we've got 3 different disruptive behaviors and we're working in a classroom setting. We can see these behaviors overall, like they're non-severe. So really that means that we could use any of these designs at this point. We are looking to do one intervention. So we're looking at this token economy system and we want to address behaviors one at a time. So multiple baseline design will do that because again, it's staggering out that implementation of this procedure, making this the best option here. It also asks which one would easily demonstrate the effectiveness on each behavior, and multiple baseline designs are going to parse that out the best. Where if we were using a reversal design, it might get a little bit messy and we wouldn't be able to test them one at a time. It'd be better to test all 3 of those at once. Alternating treatments also would get kind of messy and kind of confusing for our client if we're switching okay, today we're doing the token economy, then tomorrow we're not, and then today we're doing it. It's just gonna get tricky for your client and we might see some blend there. And changing criterion design is not very clear how we're going to manipulate our intervention or that goal line. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense here. Multiple baseline is our best option. Cool. All right, next one up, Gertrude would like to test out an intervention to attempt to slowly decrease the amount of packs of cigarettes that she buys each week. Which experimental design would best fit this purpose? What do you guys think? Cool, I'm liking when these rationales are going. Yeah, Nicole, Maria, Amy, looks great. Yeah, Nicole. Suletas looks good. Cameron looks good. There you go, Alyssa. Good. Loving the rationales here. Looks like you guys are nailing this one. We'll take a few more seconds and review it. All right. Best answer here is going to be changing criterion design. This one we're looking for a gradual reduction in behavior, and changing criterion design hits that purpose very nicely. We also see that although this is a dangerous behavior, it's not like an immediately dangerous behavior, so it's okay to gradually decrease it. It's not like, oh, if she smokes one more pack of cigarettes, like she's gonna get lung cancer immediately and then die. Just not how that works. So she should be fine if we gradually reduce this behavior, and it's gonna might make the behavior a little bit easier to fade out as well, depending on what she's like. So changing criterion design definitely looks best for this purpose. All right, this one's a trickier one. I threw you a softball there, but now we're cranking it up again. Ronaldo has 3 different forms of self-injury. We got head banging, scratching, and wall charging. Due to the intense severity of these behaviors, an effective intervention needs to be discovered and implemented immediately. Which of the following would be the worst experimental design for this situation? So now I'm asking about the best here. Which one's the worst experimental design for this? All right, we're really going to need your thinking cap for this one. Let's see it. Let's see those rationales. I'm telling you, it's not easy. Worst experimental design. We got 3 different types of SIB. Use everything you know to answer. Oh, Alyssa. Oh. All right, I'm loving all the rationales coming through. Keep it up by submitting your rationale to the public. It's going to make you learn way better because you're going to feel the feedback really nicely whether you get this correct or not. So either way, a failure or a success is a learning opportunity. And I'd say a failure is even a stronger learning opportunity. I'm sorry, Alyssa. I've got to be vague here because I don't want to give them away the answer. Ooh, Samantha, very well thought out there. I like where you're going. Yeah, Maria, I see your sloppy text. Looks good though. All right, last call for this one. Few more seconds. All right, let's go ahead and review this one. So the best design for this situation, which is not our correct answer, would be our alternating treatments design. So alternating treatments, we can find our treatment really fast and we can skip our baseline, and this is going to be ideal for this situation. I would say our next best design here, I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up. But let's talk about this reversal design, BABC here. Let's draw it out even. So we've got, we're starting off with an intervention. So hopefully it's effective and it decreases these behaviors pretty fast. Now, if we go back to baseline, like, yeah, not so ideal, but we would only have to do this for one data point. So when we go back to, so we have one data point where we go back to baseline for that. Then we put our B condition in. Let's say it works like that. And then we do our C and we're like, yeah, this is the treatment. It's really good. So this, like, it's not so ideal, but it's really like not that bad because we only had to do this baseline for one session. Change your criterion design, not great. Because we're going to be gradually changing this behavior, but we could move these criterion down really fast. And if we find a really potent reinforcer for them, then maybe we could even like shift these criterias down like really fast. So depending on the situation, this could be all right, but again, not going to be the most ideal. The worst design here is the multiple baseline design. Let's talk about why. We can draw a graph real quick. So we've got our 3 different behaviors. And the reason why this is so bad is that first we need to collect some baseline and see some stability. Then we need to implement our intervention with that one. But we need to extend our baseline condition for our second DV and then extend our baseline condition even longer for our third dependent variable. So what this is going to do is that it really extends how long we're in baseline for all of these behaviors. We might have found out that this intervention is really effective, but we still need to wait for our verification in our other conditions. And this is going to be really shitty. We're going to have really long extended periods of baseline. So this makes this the worst design, is that we have way more baseline points that we are not going to be able to implement the intervention on, even if we've found out that it's effective. So multiple baseline design is going to be the worst in this situation. I see a lot of cheers and a lot of oh and a lot of no's in chat, but hopefully however you responded, especially if you gave that feedback, that this is making sense for you and that it's starting to click a little bit better. So the BAB, still not ideal, but we would only have to do one data point in that baseline. The multiple baseline, we have really extended baselines, and this is really extra shitty. Yeah. Samantha's got the idea. Never change your answer unless you have a strong rationale. For sure. So yeah, that strong rationale is always key. Glad you guys are learning. Perfect. All right, we're going to wrap up with internal versus external validity, and I forgot to put my transitions in here, but we'll talk about it anyway. And then we'll do a giveaway to wrap up the evening. We'll end on a high note. All right, so internal validity, this is referring to how tight our experiment is. There's so many different components to internal validity, but essentially it's like how good of an experiment is this and how tightly did we control for things. No experiment is perfect. It's impossible to control for every variable. Think about your participant. Your participant is a new person every day. Like nobody's even the same person as you were yesterday. You've experienced a whole day of behavioral contingencies, and who I am this week is different than who I was last week. So it's literally impossible to control for everything. But here are some variables that will help you show stronger control. First of all is picking the appropriate design. If you don't use the right experimental design, then this is going to impede if you can actually have a good experiment or not. You also want to look at if you have relevant participants. Like if we're working with autistic individuals and then we get somebody who is not autistic, then that's going to weaken our experimental control. We also think about like the timeliness or maturation effects. Sometimes just like exposure to time and exposure to like their daily life is going to teach them certain skills. So we need to account for that and try to, in most cases, we want to run our experiments in as short of time as possible so we control and have as similar of a person as we can with each session and exposure to treatment in our conditions. Having really strong IOA can influence our internal validity. If we have weak IOA, then it's like, oh, did we even measure these things correctly? I don't know. Strong procedural integrity is really important. So this is how well you actually apply the procedures as they are described. And the most general thing is controlling for our confounding variables as best as possible. So again, it's impossible to control for every single thing, but we want to control the ones that are going to be most relevant and impact our study. So that's internal validity. Again, we want to think about how tight the experiment is, how good we can show experimental control with what we studied. Our external validity, this refers to how widely the results expand to different things. So this can be like how well the results expand to different people or populations. So if something works with like early intervention with autistic children, will this work for early intervention for non-autistic children? So that's how to expand to different people or populations. How it can expand to different concepts. So let's say like we just make a discovery about extinction. Would this also expand to like punishment? Who knows? Also like similar procedures. So if we did like differential reinforcement of alternative behavior for attention maintained behavior, would this would what we learn also apply to like differential reinforcement of alternative behavior for escape behaviors? May or may not. So the more that it can expand to different things, the more external validity we can say that we have. I would say like our experimental analysis of behavior studies, and especially like Skinner's research, had like the most external validity. If you think about it, like Skinner like really discovered like the intricacies of reinforcement principles. And like if we think about reinforcement applies to every behavior of every individual ever. So like that's really strong external validity of what he was studying and learning. Where if we look at like something more specific, where it's like, let's say response, interruption, and redirection on motor stereotypy, then like it's probably not going to expand to as many things as like the concept of reinforcement does. So if you don't have good external validity, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does limit the scope of your research and how widely it can expand to. All right. Cool beans. We have some people in chat that are looking for study groups. If you are looking for a study group, I would highly recommend that you join our Understanding Behavior Power Preppers group on Facebook. I'll drop the link for that in chat right now. We've got a great community of people studying here. We also have all of our weekly events. We host events on Mondays and Wednesdays as well. They're absolutely free to join. We've got a great community of people here studying for stuff. We also occasionally do like these Find a Friend Fridays. We had 142 comments on our last one of people looking for study partners. So definitely join this group and link up with our community if you're looking for some friends to study with. Also, if you haven't yet, make sure you download the Understanding Behavior app. You can try our fluency questions and our mock exams for free. Our link tree has all the things that you need for understanding behavior stuff, so go check it out. And before we go, as promised, we'll do one more giveaway. So we'll do same kind of dealio here. We'll do a random 1 to 500. Whoever wins gets to choose their what their prize is between Beat the Beast 1 or Beat the Beast 2, which are our full-length mocks. We'll do our mini mocks or our fluency questions. Yeah, we already got numbers coming in, so we'll start taking them now. 1 to 500 is what we're looking for. Closest number is going to get it. I will call who the last person is. I'm going off of my screen, so sorry if it looks different on yours. I promise I'll be honest. I don't know why I crossed my fingers there. I promise I'll be honest. All right, awesome, awesome. Looking good. We'll give you guys another 20, 30 seconds and we'll pull our number. Thanks so much for coming tonight. What do you guys think of this presentation? Are you guys experimental design masters now? I know it's like not the most fun topic for everybody, but hopefully you've learned a few things and it's feeling easier. That's what we're looking for. Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah, watch it like 3 more times. Yeah, for sure. So like, some of this content, it really takes some time to make it stick. So I totally understand that. All right, we're still taking numbers. We're gonna close it off in like 5-10 seconds. All right, we're gonna make Shamira our last number here. Oh, Suleida's Slate. Okay, you got yours said Suleida's. Okay, Shamira is gonna be our last number here. Let's pick it. 393. All right, who we got? Who we got? We've got Ladisha 403. That's 10 off. Okay, okay. Who else is close? Cameron's 15 off. We had 4. Okay, I think 403 was our closest. I'm still looking. Here, I'll even show you my screen so we're all on the same page here. I think somebody was 10 off. I think that was our closest. Ladisha. Oh wait, we had Hender at 400 here. Hender at 400. I think might be our winner. Our winner here. Oh, Ladisha was so close. Sorry, Ladisha. Our number was, what was it again? We had 393. All right, I think we're giving it to Hender. All right, congratulations, Hender. You're our winner for this giveaway. Congratulations. Send me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com. Let me know which prize you want, and we'll hook you up. Whoop, whoop. All right. Cool. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed the presentation tonight. Our Understanding Behavior course is going to be even better. I promise it's going to be so badass. So if you are feeling like you need some more extensive help with this stuff, it's going to have all of the materials, all of the videos, all of the quizzes and practice opportunities that you'll need to master the whole entire test content outline. I am so eager to share it with you guys. It's going to be really great. And it's going to be amazing. It's the course. I think it's really going to depend on how quickly you consume it. It's about 15 hours of videos, and then there's about 70 quizzes on the course. It's going to be priced somewhere between $250 and $300 for the initial access. It will probably go up in price over time, but yeah, it's a big chunker of a course. And instead of like talking about all the giveaways and taking the questions, like everything is really tightly edited, so it's just like information dense, exactly what you need. And all the videos are active. They all have active student responding opportunities in them. It's going to be badass. I have so much work to do, but I'm so excited to share it with you guys. It's going to be so amazing. All right. Anyway, I think don't quote me on this. I think we're doing schedules of reinforcement next week, but it might be respondent and operant conditioning. Yeah, someone's asking, do I recommend doing the Beat the Beast quizzes close to the exam? Yeah, I think the Beat the Beast quiz, if you do it about like a week before your actual exam, that is a clutch time to do it. You'll have plenty of time to digest the feedback and learn from it. And it also gets you a nice indicator about how well you're going to do. So if you get 80% or higher on this, you're guaranteed to pass the exam, but we've got a nice scoring scale for both of our mocks and how that'll go. All right. Anyway, I'm calling it for tonight, guys. Thanks so much for coming tonight and for all of your amazing participation. I hope to see you next week. I think we're doing schedules, but it might be something else. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye-bye.